always try to find professional help. Illness like depression, try to ask for help. Since I was in high school, I've been very prone of pushing that people should see a therapist. Many of us have probably seen the statistics of depression and anxiety globally, and it's like.
Hello and welcome to ThinkPod, a podcast for people who wants to make a difference. I am Cansu and I will be your host in today's episode, where we will be talking about good health and wellness with Niklas Zilliacus, an alumni of Health Bootcamp event of the Helsinki Think Company and the founder and CEO of Oyama, an innovative self-development company that believes psychological tools should be available for all. Niklas is joining us today to discuss the vital subject of digital well-being and depression prevention. Hopefully, our conversation will bring awareness to practical strategies and tools that can lead our audience to a greater self-awareness and help them cope with life's challenging situations. Welcome, Niklas, to ThinkPod.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start the conversation by talking about Oyama. What is your mission and vision in promoting digital well-being, and how your platform addresses the unique challenges of the digital age?
So the mission is that we want to create balanced humans, as we say. I'll elaborate a little bit what that means in our context, but from the very beginning, I think our vision has been maybe slightly different for kind of a well-being company, as we think that we are trying to kind of create a world where humans take good care of themselves, but also others. So we have this kind of sustainability thinking in that as well, that we think that if humans are well and take good care of themselves, they're also going to care for others, care for the planet, be more kind of caring. But to elaborate about the mission, as said, kind of what balanced humans for us means is that you are sort of taking good care of your mind through different kind of skills, learning emotional regulation skills, for example, learning to be aware of emotions, learning to be aware of how others feel, communicating effectively. Emotional intelligence, as we call it, is one of the key topics which we try to teach through our mobile solution, and that's in an essence what we mean with balanced humans, to be kind of balanced mentally, and with that comes a lot of other benefits.
Yes, this mental awareness is tricky, isn't it? Like, you cannot always. You feel something, but you cannot really know what you're feeling. Even naming the feeling that you're going through is a thing to learn, in my opinion. Do you think that our education system kind of failed us? Like, should there be like classes in schools these days to give us the tools that we need to survive as an adult in real life?
Definitely.
What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the school should. Now, I'm not an expert on the curriculum today, but I think I can, of course, talk to our generation. I think for our part, in a sense, the school system has failed us to teach these skills. But in my understanding, actually today, more and more kind of emotion awareness skills are taught to children as well, which is great. But our generation, we don't know them. So hence, kind of our mission is to bring these tools to people. It's like you said, emotion awareness, being aware of your emotions is definitely a skill you can learn. But it's not something that we can take for granted that we know what it is. It's quite complicated, but it affects our decision making, affects our mood and well-being, and being able to monitor and maybe even affect and nudge your kind of emotional state is I think something that's very popular at the moment as well in the scientific community. There's a lot of talks around that, and I think it's a very key skill that is emotional regulation for all things like human relationships, wherever, work, personal life. Just really key for your own productivity and decision making, as said, your overall well-being. So that's one of the core things we focus on.
Indeed. In your opinion, what is the role of AI-assisted self-care recommendations in preventing depression and fostering mental wellness?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk around that. We have also discussed that very thoroughly in our team, where fortunately I have a co-founder who's technical and actually very experienced as well with kind of data analytics and machine learning, AI, and on top of things, been a vivid user of ChatGPT already for a long time since early versions of it. So we've discussed it a lot, and very much I would say our conclusion is that these technologies don't fit as such to kind of solve the problems of mental well-being or mental health. It can be a bit even like quite dangerous. There's a lot of security concerns regarding the application of AI. However, what we do believe that it can be very beneficial for is for use it for specific type of tasks. You might give it like give AI like a more simple task, guide it to help you solve some specific problem, which we're also trying to apply in our solution. But we do believe that it's even quite dangerous that people are experimenting with these technologies at the moment. So some security concerns maybe regarding that, but.
Yes, like the info that you get as a result from using these tools is not regulated, and you cannot always find a professional to ask if this is a valid result.
Indeed.
So I agree, it can lead to some problems, but hopefully companies like yours will put out products that will be kind of safe for us normal people to use, so that we are not scared or of the result that we see.
Yeah, definitely. It's our responsibility, I would say, before regulations catch up, to build solutions that are safe, and one should be definitely a little bit cautious with how we use the AI technologies. I think there's a lot of great examples out there of how to use it and how not to use it in this area.
Yes. We were wondering about the evidence-based psychological exercises. Those are offered by Oyama. How do they contribute to users' overall emotional health, in your opinion?
Yeah. So what we mean with these type of psychological exercises is that like very core of our product is that we are bringing, let's say, exercises that are used perhaps in the psychotherapy clinic or might be used in the psychological sciences today for treating people. We are applying that for more general causes, let's say, for everyday life. So we take these evidence-based skills and protocols. More specifically, we currently use, for example, a very commonly used protocol in psychotherapy for kind of emotional regulation, and then we've applied it to be more interesting, let's say, for everyday life. So that's what we mean with the kind of evidence-based psychological exercises. It's the backbone of our learning programs of our product, of our emotional intelligence program. But speaking of safety, that's the reason why we do it this way, is to be able to have proper tools and proper exercises that we know are kind of by Western science also proved to work and be effective, and help with emotional health. So that's very much kind of the backbone of how we work. We look to psychological science and we adapt it in a more straightforward, let's say more user friendly manner, sort of like Duolingo does with language learning.
Yeah. So in order to create the balanced people, could you give us one example of the task that there is in the app?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So one of the first exercises in our emotional intelligence program is what we just discussed, kind of to break down an emotional response, learning to actually let's try to put the right words here. So one of the first tasks is to learn about emotions and learn kind of what an emotion consists of, and try to put that into your own perspective. So you try to learn about kind of what that emotional response is for yourself, becoming more aware of what your emotional response consists of, and then applying it to, let's say, several different examples in your life. So that would be not one task, but actually several exercises in the beginning of our program. So that's kind of one example. It all starts with kind of emotional awareness, and then you go deeper in the emotional experience, let's say.
So I'm given a list of emotions and explained what they are and how to respond to them. What kind of UX you have? Do you write down things, or do you just multiple select? How do I move on to the next level?
Yeah, good question. So actually, you definitely choose from like a list of emotions with through multiple choice, and then actually, instead of trying to find ways to change that or change your behavior, we firstly like try to teach you to just observe and kind of become aware and try to identify what emotions and what caused it, and kind of get a little bit deeper down into that response, like what triggered it, and try to guide the user to learn about its own experience. But we use a lot of multiple choice. That's a very conscious decision to try to make it easy to go through. But at the moment, we do also have some kind of open-ended text fields where you can type in a journal-like manner. But we will be introducing also short videos, and possibility for audio, of course, exists kind of already built into Android and iPhone keyboards. But we're elaborating on that also to make it easier to do those tasks without too much typing or too much pressing and touching and so. That's
sounds like multi-optional,
indeed,
but still pretty streamlined. How will I understand my progress?
Mm-hmm.
How will I know that I'm getting to right direction?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So obviously you're guided through the program through different modules, and you have a quite clear kind of tree to follow there, a clear path, and with the different tasks. So you're walk through the progress, and every time you do finish an exercise, you actually get some rewards, some points on your progress, some feedback, if you will, and that's something we're also further elaborating on kind of how you, let's say, see your progress in the app, but mainly I think the best way always to see your progress is if you're learning a new habit, as here we're trying to teach you emotional regulation, emotional awareness, and emotional regulation is that you see the benefits in your own life. You see that it's starting to impact the decisions you make and impact your well-being. But with our customers, as we do target companies, we will also be measuring, let's say, larger impact on individual employees in this case, or individual people, and on the impact in the company, how it kind of affects the company in hopefully a positive way, but that's something that we will naturally be measuring. But to answer the question, I think the easiest way to see your progress is kind of through the rewards you get and feedback in the app and the path.
And the way you feel.
And the way you feel.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It is so crazy. When I read that article about how to define even the emotion that you go through, I realized I was saying that I'm angry, but actually I was not just angry. I named it wrong.
Yeah.
Like before I read that article,
yeah.
it was anxious.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was worried. I was feeling something else than angry. So I think that what you're doing takes it to another level, a deeper level than just reading an article about being emotionally aware.
Mm-hmm.
Like you actually teach you don't just give me the info, you actually teach me to apply, and I think that is just wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's definitely, it's not an easy task. That's the challenge we have taken on. We don't, I would say, fully kind of encompass everything there, but that's definitely the challenge we've taken on. To instead of I have used here today also teach, but not so much teach. We rather try to kind of guide you to create those habits which will have a positive impact, and that's really the main goal. As you said, it's a great example. You might understand that, and we do have some kind of like psychoeducation, as it's called, not articles, but some short text videos about the mechanism behind. But for example, in this case, anger, a basic emotion, we have underneath there often is anxiety, and I think that's a great example to understand really what's the underlying emotion, what causes it. You can go to lengths just by understanding those things, and it goes to all other emotions as well. So
yes, even to know the word that there is emotional awareness, just the terminology was already an eye-opening for me. But when you think you're angry, your reaction is totally different. When you realize you're not angry but anxious, then your reaction to it is totally different. So you need to have a lot of self-reflection, and that is a really big skill I think to give to everybody, because I'm pretty certain that not everybody is aware of this concept, and
definitely not. You're
actually bringing awareness to those topics and you're putting it into practice, which is marvelous.
That's the goal for the tool, for sure. But I will just a final comment on that. Say still also about anxiety, that I think we've heard a lot and we've read a lot post pandemic about it. But often there's some underlying fear, and very often even myself having gone through psychotherapy and practice these type of skills, been very passionate and interested in these type of skills and the mind for years. Still today you might reflect and be questioned by a colleague or a friend or a partner about what's the really underlying fear behind, and it can be really complicated. So it's super interesting what you can find out about very casual situations. So it doesn't. Anxiety is a loaded word, but it definitely there's a lot to it, and a lot to explore there, a lot to reflect.
It's a good start.
It's a very good start.
Yes.
And it starts with self-awareness.
So Niklas, we use the term depressed more frequently than in the past to describe our state of mind. It feels as if it became a common term rather than something to be worried about. What is your perspective on depression?
Well, obviously, depression is a clinical term, so that should be taken seriously. we don't necessarily need to go into the clinical definition of depression here and now, but it comes with a set of clinical symptoms and a proper diagnosis. But on the other hand, the term, I'm happy the term is being thrown around, and it makes me very happy to see that we talk more casually about depression, and maybe often underlying depression is anxiety, and we talk about these. We have many of us have probably seen the statistics of depression and anxiety globally, and it's like some baffling figure close to a billion people globally, and it's difficult to measure perhaps in all over the world what the rate is, but we know it's a huge figure, and I do think that it's good that we talk about it, but depression specifically, it's also good to take very seriously. It's a serious illness.
Indeed. On that note, what are your recommendations on coping with this challenging time of high rate of anxiety, burnout, even mental degradation leading to suicide? As I read that over the past year, 2 to 3 persons in 100 have had suicidal thoughts, even though these thoughts are short-lived for most people, which was stated by the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare. What do you think?
Yeah, those are some terrible figures indeed. My perspective is very personal as well on those topics, as I indeed have gone through my own challenges already in my early 20s. I was depressed and was going through some quite rough times, having suicidal thoughts and very difficult times. So for me personally, it's a very important topic, and not only for depressed or people suffering from depression, but also from other people. My recommendation, or let's say my perspective, is that everyone should be going to psychotherapy, and everyone should at some point in their life see a professional, just like we go to a doctor every once in a while. We even more and more go to physiotherapists or masseuses and different type of medical specialists, because I believe on average humans have something like 3.5 crises during their life. So that would be at least 3.5 times they should see a specialist for a crisis. But in my perspective, and this is something I've been talking about for a long time, probably more than 10 years, 15 years, I believe, since I was in high school, I've been very prone of pushing that people should see a therapist and talk about it, and for me that has been kind of a natural thing, and that's been kind of evident that that's what we need to do. With that said, I of course know also how difficult it can be, how ashamed you can feel about those feelings, how difficult it is to access it, and actually how hard it can be to take that step to really be aware and vulnerable and ask for help. Definitely not something that comes naturally for me. So that's definitely my recommendation. Regardless what you're thinking of or concerned about, I think the first step is always to try to find professional help. But especially for a very tricky illness like depression, try to ask for help if it is somebody close to you or somebody, just anyone you feel comfortable talking to. Try to talk about it. That's the first step as well. It might feel like a huge step to access a therapist and so, but talking about it makes you feel less alone.
I am so happy to hear that you didn't recommend sports or lose some weight. That is always a recommendation when you say, I'm not feeling well, I'm feeling depressed, I have anxiety. It is having a stigma that therapy is for people who have money. It is not really available for certain people in the society, but as you just said, why do we always put so much emphasis on our physical health, not to the psychological health? And from my experience with therapy, I know that when I solve some kind of mental barrier, my body is more relaxed, my body is healthier. So don't you think that we should put more emphasis on our mental health rather than physical? I'm not saying don't go to doctor. Don't go to doctor.
Yeah.
Especially in Finland, go to doctor when you have problem. That is something, and that is another conversation that people just ignores the doctor visit at all costs until they are at the deathbed.
Yeah, definitely.
That's another conversation, but yeah, I'm
similar. I would say that's a very, very similar topic as well. But in this case, obviously, if you want to go through the healthcare system and find a therapist, usually the first step is actually to see a doctor and get kind of prescribed a therapist. So even that is a good option to go to see the doctor, and regardless if they understand or not understand really the symptoms and the need, then ask for seeing somebody. That's usually the way it goes. But also something that actually I've definitely heard all the reasons why people don't access therapy. I've told myself a lot of different excuses why I don't need to see a therapist. I have most of the people around me have fortunately accessed therapy, so I also know that it is accessible. We do like to talk about it, and there's been a lot of public debate, that obviously the queues can be long in the public healthcare system, but fortunately, at least in this country, we do have resources, some resources dedicated to it. So regardless of the situation, usually there is a way, but it's not necessarily so easy, an easy way when you're depressed or otherwise going through a crisis. So the resources are available, even though you would have to wait. So even better to take action when you actually need it.
Yes, as Niklas said, first recognize that you have a problem. The moment you do, you can find help. You need to just search a little bit how to get that help, but it is good to get going with it instead of delaying all the time, and then the problem increases in time. Then it's gonna be harder to solve the issues. And thank you for the real answer instead of covering it with, in my opinion, shallow fixes. Support is not the solution, or losing weight. About community around self-development, wellness, how your company Oyama's platform fosters that, or provide peer support for individuals facing mental health challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice segue. Maybe still to mention also that taking that step kind of to therapy might be difficult, but talking to someone peer when you're really anxious or really tired or really going through a crisis might be easier, and that way get the help to actually get the energy and get some practical help to get there. So I think that's where kind of peers and community comes in very nicely. But at Oyama, we were founded already in 2019, and we've gone through a few different phases. We worked with high school students originally to go towards consumer, where the first mobile product we built in 2020 was actually a peer support community, because we wanted to bring in this kind of community aspect in the mobile product together with the exercises that we have today. But back then we didn't have that, and we built just kind of the community app. Some might even remember us for that. But that was a challenging chapter, I would say, for us, we have always been very like prone community, but it's very difficult, of course, to build any kind of digital community. I think all companies struggle with building a big community and online presence, if you will. But we were trying to build sort of a peer support feature in the app where you could share experiences and talk to other peers anonymously. It's still something that we strive to bring in to our new product that we just launched in the spring. But it comes with a lot of challenges, not only of course security and privacy challenges, but also just kind of to get the community going. There's already so many social media platforms out there. There's, I think even today there's a lot of conversations on Reddit about mental health, which is great. A lot of threads. There's different kind of even peer support platforms that run, but so we're taking a little bit different spin on it in the product. But outside of that, we of course foster very much like our own Oyama community, our early users, our extended community, and even recently we have discussed starting to kind of gather these type of events where we could gather the community for different types of community events. So that's some things we do. Community for us is super important, obviously from the mental well-being perspective, but also for like learning and training and development. It's much more fun to do it together with others, right? Just like going for a run or exercise. Speaking of that, it's much more fun to do it together with others. So it's obviously learning about emotional regulation and emotions. Plus, it's sometimes you also need the other perspective, right, to give you feedback and to really nudge you in the right direction. So those we're trying to kind of include also in the product in ways in the near future.
Yes, individually, people can search for these kind of groups that are around the topics that they are interested. But I think Oyama creating these kind of events, these kind of platforms to gather people and discuss what they go through, it feels that people would be more prone to join just because they already know you, they already know the product, they know the company, and when you give this sense of safety, if I'm a customer of Oyama and Oyama is creating this kind of community event, I think I would be more willing to go and actually discuss these problems with the others who I meet in the platform or the events. So I think it's a great idea to do this kind of additions to the application.
Indeed, and it's also of course much more fun to also meet people and hang. I think the worst scenario is of course loneliness, and we have a lot of it today, and all of these digital platforms is creating more of it, and also us creating a digital product. Obviously, we also want to kind of react to that and try to create some community and some live space as well for people, whereas the focus in the app will be more on the training and learning those new skills and encouraging each other on that learning path. So I do think there's definitely a space for meeting physically, and a community should happen physically. Sometimes of course some events has to happen online, and that's fine, but definitely I hope that the world is kind of going away from these social media platforms and digital communities and kind of going back to more physical. I think with recent evidence as well on social media's effects on mental health, I think we see the problem, right, as well. I also feel a lot for like people who feel alone who don't have anyone to talk to, or just are not very good for asking for help when you can feel very alone. So there is of course a lot of resources out there as well. Not everyone has friends. Not everyone has communities or even family, right? So especially as an expat in Finland, for example, it might be very tough. So for example, Helsinki Missio offers some initiatives for loneliness, and there's a couple other organizations that also do that. So there's quite a lot of resources out there, but we of course also want to create community events, but still that's a pretty small scale. So it's also good to acknowledge that there are different kind of resources from Mieli ry, for example, always great resources available.
Yes, you're right. I'm glad that you mentioned every spectrum of the society, not just a certain type of society. Like, even also there is this part about the subject that even if you have people around you, they cannot relate to what you're going through. You explain, for example, what you are going through. They don't know what to tell you, or they don't know how to respond. They don't understand the severity of the situation. If it is severe situation, the level can be whatever. So it's really good to talk to someone that goes through or knows the subject.
Indeed.
In that sense.
Indeed.
About Ojama's platform that we just talked about, what kind of feedback and experiences you received from the users? How has the response been so far?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we talked, of course, a little bit about the peer support as well, and the previous product we had, and even there, I think we had a pretty nice some nice learnings and nice feedback. We talked to high school students, we've talked to young adults, we have talked to a little bit older adults as well over the years, and especially the peer support was something that's very popular, but definitely a challenging platform kind of to engage people. But now with the exercise and the new product, we actually just launched it in the spring. So we ran through our first B2B pilot, and we have a couple other ones getting started. So we are only receiving, let's say, first feedback, but we have done a few user interviews and such during this year, and I would say that definitely the topic of emotional intelligence is something that's very popular and very interesting, and in the app as well, I think we've had quite positive feedback on the modularity and how easy it is to learn these skills. But at the same time, of course, we've gotten some great feedback on how to iterate into a even better, more interesting direction, more engaging direction. So there's been both kind of good and bad feedback. We're still early on this kind of maturity of this product, and now we want to get more companies and more customers, more organizations as well to try out the app and get more learnings this fall. So to be nudged in the right direction as well. Definitely, it's the only way to build products through good user feedback. So it's still quite early to say maybe so much about the current product, but good and bad so far.
Yes, companies usually focus on the bad review, so that they can get it better, which is totally understandable approach. But it is also good to know. I'm as a business owner, I do notice that I don't stop to think what actually worked. Like, why don't I also give the same emphasis on the positive side? I only focus on the negative response to fix it right away, because you don't want to not develop what you're doing. But it's also really good to know what worked. That is, don't you think that's very valuable to know what worked?
That is it is very valuable indeed, and especially maybe what users really enjoy and really like, and at the same time, of course, we do see in data and analytics also kind of what they use and what they don't. So both are very important in this phase to understand, like, where should we put more effort, but generally I do very much believe in that we should all focus on more positive critique, more positive feedback, because most people are quite self-critical as it is, and we're quite good at that ourselves. So I think we benefit more from getting that positive feedback, and obviously if you want to have some critique or you want to have some more detailed feedback, you can ask for it, and people do. I do think that's a general rule of thumb in terms of like human performance to focus more on the positives and encourage each other. But yeah, that definitely goes for the product as well.
Yes. So in today's episode, to sum up, we talked about the problems that we are facing in digital age and how AI-assisted app can help us go through those challenges. We talked about the type of exercises that Oyama's app offers. Deep dived into the meaning of depression. Niklas shared with us his suggestion on dealing with anxiety, burnout, and mental degradation. And finally, how Oyama's creating a community around health and wellness and self-development. It's been a very fruitful discussion, and I want to thank you, Niklas, for joining us today. It was great to hear your expertise and thought on the topic. If you enjoyed our conversation with Niklas, hit the subscription button and leave us a review. And don't hesitate to check out Oyama's work through the link down below. Become a member of Think Company, join us, the Entrepreneurship Society, and find out about our events and workshops at our website that will be linked down below. Thank you for listening. Until next time, again, thank you, Niklas.
Thanks so much for having me.